Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and this is going to be the start of a new series on this channel titled Building the Ultimate Lego Room. Now, the Lego room is kind of my sanctuary. This is where I get most of my work done. This is where I create those awesome mods that you guys see here on this channel. But for the longest time, people have been asking me, yo, Jay, do a room tour. Jay, show off your Lego room. And I haven't done that because I've never been quite satisfied with this room. It just hasn't really been organized, set up, and had the right things that I wanted on display. And I figured, why not take this opportunity to finally make this room the way that I actually wanted. That's not to say that I don't have some pretty awesome things on display, like I got this really cool Zeta class shuttle up here. I even got my minifig scale AT-M6 behind me. But I feel like I could be doing more. I could be presenting these beautiful mocks that I have in a more favorable light. If you see most of the shelves that I have set up here in this room, they're kind of just crammed with whatever I could fit on that shelf at a time. You can kind of see in some areas where I had things planned like hanging ships, or I kind of started setting up a little Jakku display, but it just never really got finished and amounted to what I thought it could be. I've given quite a bit of thought to what I would personally like to see displayed in this room, and I think I kind of landed on the idea that I don't want this to be like any other Lego room where in the background you just see white IKEA shelves with a bunch of Lego sets. I instead want this room to be more a reflection of what I enjoy the most out of Lego, and that is custom minifig scale Star Wars ships. Now, that's not to say that I won't be displaying Lego sets in here. I think there are a lot of awesome Lego sets that definitely are deserving of being displayed in here, but my priority is definitely going to be on custom mocks, whether they be creations of my own or other people's creations, and then those Lego sets that I feel are really nicely detailed or just mean a lot to me to display in here. So the main goal of this series is really just going to be for me to clear off a lot of the shelves that I have and rid them of the things that I'm not super excited to display, and thus leave more room for the things that I really do want to display and give them basically a better presentation on my shelves. There are a couple of things that really inspired me to get this series started. First and foremost, it was actually surprisingly not necessarily even anything Lego related, but I spent a lot of time over the summer looking at Star Wars collection videos, so just people with ridiculous Star Wars collections, whether it be like action figures, really used props, helmets, things like that. And I really got inspired, and I was just like, man, like these people have some really cool looking displays and some really cool looking models, and the way that they display them is just so nice. It really kind of helps highlight those models. And on the YouTube content creator side of things, I think going up to David's house and getting to check out his studio was also really inspiring insofar as just giving me a really cool backdrop for when I film. And then speaking of cool backdrops, I gotta shout out Firebird Ricks. I think that his filming setup and the backdrop he has for when he does his videos is just super cool, and I want to have something like that. I want for people to see my videos and see what I have going on in this room and feel inspired, and also for them to just see kind of what I'm all about just based on what I have displayed in this room. In terms of the schedule and the goals for this series, I don't really have a timetable for when episodes will be released. It's not going to be a weekly thing. I can't even guarantee they'll necessarily be a bi-weekly thing. It very much is going to be a when do I feel like doing things to this room and kind of moving forward with it. I will say you probably will see like episodes with a greater frequency to get things started off, because I have bought more shelves, not necessarily to go in this room, but to basically replace the shelves that are in here. They're a different color, they're black, and that's also going to allow me to put the shelves that were in here in another room, and I can have that space to put all the other stuff that I don't necessarily want to be in this room. As for the goals of the series, I very much could see myself like at the beginning getting to a point where I have a lot of empty shelf space. Like I have a pretty good amount of mocks, but I don't think I have nearly enough to be able to fill up these shelves in here, kind of like the way I have now with, you know, a bunch of other stuff that I maybe don't necessarily really care to have on display. So I think this series may actually inspire me to make more of an effort to build more custom vehicles. That's been something that I've really enjoyed pretty much since the start of things, and I really do want to continue with that. So I think by the end of this series, I really would love for this room to have some of the most beautiful minifig scale Star Wars creations out there. Next, we might have some non-minifig scale creations that are custom mocks, and then finally we'll have the Lego sets that I felt were good enough to be able to be displayed here in this room. Now, I do have to say this is a super overwhelming project to get started with. I think to really get the ball rolling, my first point of order is going to be just target individual shelves, take everything off of them, replace it with a black shelf that I plan on putting in here, and then decide what I think should stay on the shelf, and then everything else is going to move to the other room where Camino is. I think the first shelf I'm going to start off with is this one right here. This one by far has the most amount of Lego sets out of any other shelf that I have in this room. There's just a lot going on with this one. I think originally when I started this, I wanted to have it kind of separated by films. So you'll see at the very bottom, there's mostly Phantom Menace stuff. Then we got like some episode 2/Clone Wars stuff. And then we move up to episode 3, and then like a Jakku display that I tried working on a while back. Got some modulars and Simpsons House here, along with a bunch of CMFs that I've either not even opened or just kind of cluttered here on the shelf for no real reason. And at the top, we got a bunch of UCS sets, as well as some other ships that I just have not quite found a home for. So I think I'm just going to get a time lapse started. I'm going to start taking basically everything off of these shelves, and I'm going to basically separate it into a pile of like things I want to keep, things I don't want to keep. And I guess once I get it all separated, I'll kind of walk you through my decision on deciding what I decided to keep in this room and what will not stay in this room. All right, shelf is clear, looking good. And I got a table full of just sets and some mocks. So I guess to break down in terms of, what's leaving and what's staying, the line pretty much starts on the left side of that custom Arc 170, comes like around this way through there, and then stops there. So basically everything on the left side, these are sets that I am going to not necessarily part ways with, but just not display in here anymore. And this is the stuff that I'm going to keep in this room. So how did I decide this? Well, mostly, the mocks all got preferential treatment. Pretty much there are no mocks on this side. All the mocks are on this side. And there are also some more I had to put in other places, like these beautiful Jedi Interceptors. That's that one. That was a set. Got the custom AATs there. Those are also really fun. I had one of Entherd's Naboo Starfighters get completely destroyed while trying to pick it up. So that's a repair job I'm going to need to do. And then also my Jakku layout over there, it's chilling on the Falcon. So that is also going to get kicked out of this room. But in terms of, this main area and the sets that I wanted to keep in here, yeah, like I said, MOCs were definitely the preference. I also just kind of decided, like, these big upscaled Starfighters UCS sets, I mean, they're cool in their own way, but they're just not necessarily my cup of tea when it comes to what I would want to display in here. They take up so much space, and I feel like, I'd be better suited off showing off MOCs in here. I think that, for me, I'd much rather show off like a minifig scaled version of an X-Wing or a Y-Wing than an oversized version of an X-Wing or a Y-Wing. So that was really the decision calculus around those. My ARC 170 play sets here, they're kind of buried under this Mandalorian fighter. Those are cool sets also, but I got this beautiful custom one by my guy, Caleb Ricks. So that decision was pretty easy to make. I was a little torn on the quad jumper, not really sure why, but I don't know, I guess I was so committed to that Jakku display at one point. It does kind of suck to see it go away. Let's see what else we got over here. Oh, Grievous' Starfighter is over there, but I think I am actually going to keep that. I think I do want to eventually get a mock of it, but I think for now it's good enough to get the job done. I think that was mostly all the controversial things that were left over here that I decided not to keep. As for over here, so I think the MOCs are pretty self-explanatory. As for the sets and why I decided to keep them, UCS Slave 1, goated set, don't think I need to justify that. And my custom Jango Fett version, same case. I'm a huge Simpsons fan. I've been watching The Simpsons quite a lot lately while I've been building a little bit more and just doing more things for the channel in my recreational time. So I'm on a Simpsons high, so to speak. So Simpsons has a place near and dear to my heart. Big fan. I do actually have the Quickie Mart sealed, so now that I've gotten rid of a lot of these sets, hopefully I'll be able to display both of those together in here. Although I'm also thinking I might want a mock of this as well. This set is great, but I've seen some custom houses out there that have pretty much all the rooms that should be in there, whereas the Lego set just doesn't have all the rooms. So I might think about doing that at some point. The modulars are probably my favorite line of sets that aren't Star Wars. In fact, no, they definitely are my favorite non-Star Wars line of sets. And ever since I started this room, I actually have always planned to have them up there on that shelf where that boutique Helltail starts. So maybe that'll be something that I get started off with the series. So those, especially those two right there, those are two of my favorites, two of the original three. So those were always gonna stay. There was no doubt about that. And let's see what else. Oh, Back to the Future, DeLorean. That's my second favorite movie franchise outside of Star Wars. So that was a no-brainer for me. Ray Speeder, I was kind of torn on. I opted to keep it just because it's so small and inoffensive. Like, it doesn't take up that much space. But I do actually probably at some point want to get a mock of that as well. I think eventually, unless it's just a really good set that blows everything else out of the water, I'm probably going to replace it with a mock. So while I haven't done that, I think it's perfectly serviceable to, have mocks of things to have sets of things that I don't necessarily have mocks for yet. So I think it actually makes a lot of sense because, like the gunship might have been a hard choice to make, but I got custom gunships, so it's not a big deal. Same with all the upscaled UCS sets, I got custom versions of all those. I think that's probably a bigger decision calculus for me. If I have a mock of it, that pretty much just guarantees it right there. If I don't have a mock, but there's a set and it's something that I would like a mock of, maybe I'll do the set now and then eventually replace it with a mock. I think that's how we're going to do this moving forward. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this white shelf out of here. I'm going to replace it with the black shelf. I'm going to put the things on this side of the table back on the shelf. I'm not really going to display it, perfectly. I'll make it look as nice as I can right now, but I can't guarantee that it'll look exactly the way I want it to look long term. But it will at least have a lot more space than it had when all this stuff was cluttering up the shelf. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, here is the result of the cleaning of this shelf and the replacing of this shelf. And you can see the difference is night and day. Like, this is so much cleaner than what I had before, and it still, like I said before, is not going to be the final configuration of this, but seeing these beautiful models with actual breathing room and the ability to appreciate them, and then looking even somewhat clean over here is actually super cool. So let's go level by level. Up top, we just have the two slave ones, so not really sure what else I would add up here if I wanted to add something. Theoretically, I'd love to have the UCS Razor Crest on display up here with these, but I don't really get the impression that that would fit up here with these guys, at least not in any good way. Although maybe if I just, I'm not even gonna try that, it's not gonna work. But maybe once this stuff moves at some point, I'll put the Razor Crest right below it and we'll have all the big bounty hunter ships in one place. So as for this next level right now, we got the Simpsons house and the two modulars. I do still plan on putting those over there. That is a long-term goal. But for now, before I have all that over there cleaned up, I'll just have them right here. No big deal. Move one level below. This is probably my favorite shelf. Probably just because it has so many custom models. We got 3 custom Jedi Interceptors there, as well as that custom ARC 170 build. And I think they just all look so good together. I do still want to kind of play around with the stands that I have these on. Maybe have the one in the back much higher, and then kind of play with the leveling so I can kind of get them closer together and then give this even more room to breathe. And then I just kind of threw some play sets over here that I thought were worthy of keeping in here for the meantime. I do really like both of those sets, and I guess the droid tank and the Snell tank as well kind of found its way to still be on the shelves. Next level is kind of the episode 2 level, plus a turbo tank, plus those Clone Wars AATs that I didn't have room for anywhere else. And I guess also plus the clone tank. So really only episode 2 things we have here are the gunship and the Jedi Starfighter. I really was not going to keep the gunship in here, but I was looking at the shelf and I was like, man, I should probably keep it in here for now. It was looking pretty bare without it. So for now, we'll live with the non-custom gunship, even though I have 3 custom ones, 2 of which are actually in this room. And then at some point, I imagine that guy will get swapped out for something. And then the final shelf is, of course, the episode 1 shelf. And this one is probably my second favorite shelf over here, once again, because of how many custom builds are over here. So we got 3 of those Naboo Starfighters, and then 3 of those AATs, and a few play sets in the middle. We got Anakin's Pod Racer, Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator, and the Gungan Sub. That actually is a really cool set, and I don't mind displaying it. I do still just want to play around with some stands for those Naboo Starfighters, get those elevated in a cool way, and then basically gives a little bit more space for everything else on this side of the shelf. But that's pretty much going to finish up the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out the start of this journey of me building my ultimate Lego room. I'm very much enjoying where it's starting off. This shelf just looks so much cleaner than it did before, and I think that, you know, once again, just having a nice presentation of these really cool custom builds that I have is going to go a long way in making this room really feel like my room and representative of the things that I enjoy most about Lego Star Wars. So if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.